Welcome to the GSD with Jenny podcast, where we talk about how to overcome all the stuff that gets in the way of getting shit done. Imposter syndrome, fear, money, relationships, networking, building businesses. We're going to talk to experts, or as I say, mavens, that provide practical and tactical advice on how to GSD. I'm your host, Jenny Buchholz, founder and CEO of Haven Creative. Now, I started my business with $300 in a laptop and grew it to a team of Haven mavens serving clients around the world and generating over 7 figures in revenue. We were named one of the fastest growing companies in Charlotte and 2024 Crowns of Enterprise Woman-Owned Business of the Year, and I'm incredibly proud of the success we've had and to be among the 1% of woman-owned advertising agencies in the country. But I still need help too. So I started this podcast with the intent to dive deeper into the things that hold us back from achieving our goals. So thank you for joining me on this journey to GSD. Let's get started.
I've worked with hundreds of businesses as a marketer, and when I ask companies where their sales leads come from, the majority of them tell me word of mouth, which really means referrals. In a world today where we are inundated with ads and salesy spam emails, that word of mouth referral is gold. So in order to get shit done when it comes to scaling your business, you got to put time and effort into building referrals. That's why I'm so excited about our next guest, Stacey Brown Randall, the GSD queen when it comes to referrals. Stacey Brown Randall is a multiple award-winning author of Generating Business Referrals Without Asking. She's host of the Roadmap to Referrals podcast and is a national speaker. Stacey teaches business owners how to generate referrals naturally without manipulating, incentivizing, or even asking. She's been featured in national publications like Entrepreneur Magazine, Investor Business Daily, Forbes, and more. Please welcome Stacey. Welcome, Stacey. I'm so excited to have you on the GSD podcast.
Oh, it is my pleasure, Jenny. I cannot wait to spend this time with you.
So I've already introduced you as the GSD queen of referrals. And as entrepreneurs, we are always looking for ways to GSD more efficiently, right? So when it comes to referrals, what's the biggest mistake that business owners make that kind of keep them from seeing results?
So that question could be answered a number of different ways because I think business owners naturally, sometimes we just create more work for ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't want to. It's like the opposite of what we're trying to do, but we just create more work for ourselves. But I think when people are thinking about referrals, there's a lot of deep-seated information that's out there that gets people thinking about what they're supposed to do when it comes to referrals to be able to get referrals. And usually it's completely misaligned to who they are as a person and how they want to show up as a business owner. So they do nothing when it comes to actually generating referrals because they've been told, hey, you have to ask, or you have to compensate, or you got to be really gimmicky and promotional, or you need to network every single night of the week, or people will forget about you and forget to refer to you. So, a lot of times when I help people try to become more efficient with referrals, it's usually I'm starting with I need to change your belief system or what you thought was true about referrals and get you seeing it a little bit differently. And then we can make some real progress. The other thing that I would say that helps people get more efficient with referrals after we've shifted their mindset and they're like, okay, I'm on board. I understand what this is supposed to look like. It doesn't have to be terrible. The next thing is usually remembering though, when I'm teaching a strategy to someone about hey, we're going to get referrals in this way or in this way, there's always a group of humans at the end of that strategy. So when people can remember, I'm doing this strategy to get referrals from this group of humans, whether that is my clients or my centers of influence or people who have referred me before. When you can lock into the who am I doing this with to get the results that I want, I think it streamlines your thinking and allows you to just be more efficient versus what a lot of business owners do, ping pong around and think about how this one strategy can apply to 14 different people in 14 different groups. And you're like, no, come back to center. This for this group. Let's do that. And when we do that, you naturally save time.
Well, that's a great segue into another question, but it sounds like what you're saying is it's important to be authentic, right? Is that one strategy doesn't apply to all, but what's most important is if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Is that so that's how you not be gimmicky and salesy. If it doesn't feel authentic, it's not going to come across authentically, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the other thing to pay attention to with being authentic is that it needs to feel good doing it, but it also needs to work. So when you're thinking about both opportunities, there is to be really mindful of the fact that you can't sit back and do nothing if that feels the best to you.
Oh,
Like, it
true.
feels best.
It's authentic for me to hide. Is that
It's authentic for me just to be like, I'm going to go binge some Netflix right now and not do what I'm supposed to do. Like, that's not what I'm
fair?
saying.
Right. That's not what I'm saying, but you're right. Like, I hate cold calling. And so it's
Oh,
not natural to me. I'm
everybody
not going to do
should.
it. And working with hundreds of businesses, most of them say their work comes from word of mouth, which is referrals. So I think what you're doing is just fantastic. And it's helping people like me get out of the comfort zone of thinking about sales differently and I'm providing a trusted relationship and providing value to someone that then will result in a referral without asking, which I absolutely love. Tell me a little bit though, because for me, I don't have time. It's all relationship. It's so much. Like, what are your top strategies for making that connection building part of anybody's plan?
Yeah. So one of the things, so when you think about how I teach referrals and the reason why I can help my clients get referrals without asking, without being gimmicky, without being salesy, without networking all the time, and without having to pay for those referrals, the reason why I can do that is because the strategies that I teach are based on the science behind referrals. And one of the pieces of the science-backed framework that we work from is a concept of behavioral economics. So when people come to me and they're like, I need to build relationships to get referrals, but I don't have time for 7 million cups of coffee. I'm like, I don't either. Like, I don't know many business owners who have time for that. So I always tell them when we look at the concept of behavioral economics and we pull from the pieces there that will actually make someone remember you and will make them actually see the opportunity to refer you, it comes down to the what you do and also what you say while you're doing it. But the what you do, if we're doing it from a behavioral economics perspective, it isn't about doing the same thing over and over again. There is honoring and understanding the concept of variety and surprise and delight. So when people are like, I can't be taking people to coffee every month, I'm like, good, because I don't want you to, and neither do they. It may be that one of the outreaches, or as you know, inside the program, we call it touch points, but one of the touch points that they would be doing may have somebody else on their team may actually be able to do it with them. They came up with a concept and they created it. It's to me too. My referral sources know Stacey doesn't touch everything, but it doesn't mean she doesn't love us. But the idea is that you can delegate and you can outsource certain parts, but you can't delegate everything. And so when people tell me, they're like, okay, you say when I have existing referral sources, people who have referred me business before, that I need to be doing 5 or 6, maybe 7 touch points or outreaches in a year. They hear, I got to take this person to coffee 5 times. And what I'm wanting them to understand is maybe once out of those 5 times, you'll take your referral source to coffee or lunch or drinks after work or whatever works for you, right? And you'll manage that from a logistical lift perspective inside your business. But the other 4 or 5 things you're going to do, there may be things that you're actually having someone else on your team help you do, or other things that you can do that limit how much time it takes you to do it. But what you're doing and what you're saying while you're doing it will still feel very personalized and very relevant and very memorable and meaningful to me as the receiver. People assume when things are automated, we drop the efficiency, right? Or the personalization. There's actually a way to do both. I call it jokingly mass personalization, but there is a way to do both as long as when you're deciding what these touch points are going to be that someone else may be doing for you, you've really thought about what do my referral sources need. If you build things from that place, when it arrives, even if it comes to me and 12 other people or 25 other people, it'll still feel personalized to me. But that means there's an art and a science to what I teach my clients as to what their touch points should be.
I love that you speak to that because it's not just about, oh, this feels good. No, there's actually some science behind it and it works. So as a client of yours, I can fully say it does. And you're right. Even though I might be sending out 15 pairs of socks, each of my notes to my different referral sources is a little bit different based on my experience with them. You also mentioned, like, how do we get there? It's about being efficient. It's having the plan. I think for me, that alleviated so much stress because now I know where I'm going. And so talk to me a little bit about like the biggest mindset shifts that an entrepreneur needs to make in generating the referrals?
One of the other things that I always tell folks they have to do, and it's not anyone's favorite thing to hear, but it is really, really important. Actually, I just had an onboarding call with a new member in the Building a Referable Business coaching program. And the last thing I said to him before we hopped off our call was, listen, at the end of the day, what I need you to do is trust the process, because we are dealing with humans on the other end, and they are putting their reputation on the line to refer someone to you. And referrals aren't about you. They're about your referral source helping someone else who has a problem, and how they're going to help them is by referring them to you. You're just the solution provider in this scenario. It's very important you know your place when a referral is happening. You're important, but you're third in line of 3 people in terms of importance. And so you have to trust the process, because we are dealing with humans. This is not, and I always say this, is like, we are dealing with humans and relationships, not an algorithm. So we have to be willing to trust the process and know that for some people, right, things may land very quickly and referrals may happen right away. And for others, maybe it's going to take a little bit of time, and that's okay, but you have to trust the process.
Yes. And one of your big things in your process is not putting logos on the stuff you're sending out, which as a branding and marketing agency, we want to slap our logo on everything and send out a sticker and a t-shirt with our brand on it. Tell me a little bit about your theories around why that is not the best practice.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm going to answer that question as to why I say no logos. And then I'm going to talk about, because I think you guys do this really, really well, I'm going to talk about ways that you can get around it. Because that's the next question people usually have. Like, well, how did they forget about that I gave them that Yeti if my logo on it isn't on it? Right. And I'm always like, they're not carrying that Yeti because your logo is on it. So what does it matter? So here is the idea of understanding why we do not put our promotional logos on things that we are gifting to our referral sources. So note that I said this applies directly to referral sources. Do you have client gifts you want to give? Your logo on that. You have gifts you want to give to prospects? Slap your logo on that. Go into a trade show and you're going to be handing out a box of mints? Slap your logo on that. Like, I'm not saying don't put your logo in places. My logo goes in places, right? But what I am saying is that when this is something you're doing for a referral source and you're thinking, I've got a closet full of Yetis from 2 years ago that our logo was put on that we never used, I'm just going to use that as something I can send a gift to my referral sources. I always say, when you give me something that has your logo on it, that's actually a gift for you. It is not a gift for me, because me carrying your logo around is your promotional piece. It's not really doing anything for me. And if you were the only ever logoed Yeti or coffee mug I'd ever received in my entire life, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But most people have like 10 with different logos from different cups and drinkware and all kinds of things that we don't even pay attention to who's on it anymore. So if you're making it about the referral source, the person who has referred you, you need to make it about them, which means your logo has no place. But where you can kind of get around that is if you have a part of your branding that they know is you, but it doesn't include your logo. Mm-hmm. So for you guys, right? Obviously, we know it's the ostrich. Obviously, like, that is like the best thing. I just love it so much. I need to refer you so I can get those socks. I mean, you got to figure out how to make that happen. So you would do an ostrich, like, right? So when we built out your plan, I was like, we're not doing an ostrich for all these touch points. Like, no, we're going to pick one and we're going to use it accordingly. So the same thing I use with mine, something that people hear me say, you see it on my thank you cards. If you refer to me, right, you'll see it when you get a thank you card from me. You'll see it when you get your welcome box, when you join my coaching program. And my big saying that I say, it's not Stacey Brown Randall or Building a Referable Business or my other program, Referrals in a Day, which is my VIP experience. What you'll hear me say is keep calm and referral on. And so I can take that and I can use that on my thank you cards and different things for my referral sources, because where it's a subtlety to me, it isn't anything really about me. And my logo doesn't exist. It doesn't have to. That brand stands alone, right? That saying of keep calm and referral on stands alone. Do people know that's from Stacey? And that's the memory piece. That's the memory piece that we need them remembering, right? It's just that piece. It's not anything more than that. It's not like blatant with your logo. Now, for some people, this is harder to do, right? I mean, you're a branding company. It'd be really weird if you guys didn't have that figured out, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So for some, it's just easier to do, but I encourage people to spend some time thinking about what that could be for you. I had an attorney in my program who is obsessed with her black dog. And I'm really sad to say I can't remember what type of dog, but she was obsessed. And I don't say that lightly. Like, oh, she loved her dog, man. I love my dog too. But this was on a whole other level. She managed to build her entire touch point plan for her existing referral sources. So people had referred her and knew her around this black dog. And her touch points were hilarious. They were all different, right? It wasn't like she was like sending out just like dog food for her referral sources, dogs or something like that. Like they were all specific. They weren't all around the black dog. But in her work as an attorney, if you worked with her or you knew her, right? And remember, we're communicating with people who know us because they've referred to us. This is not prospects. This is not a billboard, right? They knew the black dog was a piece of her life, a huge obsessive piece of her life. Yeah. And so she was able to infuse that. Not every client I work with does that, and that's fine. You don't have to have the ostrich, the black dog, or the keep calm and referral on part of your branding. So some people don't have it, and so it's like, fine, we don't need it, but you're not putting your logo on it either. We will find other things that we're going to do. So it's helpful, but I always tell folks, it's helpful, it's fun, it's not a necessity, but you cannot put your logo on things.
Yes. And if you aren't comfortable with doing these things, what I love about your program as well is you have a community of people working on this that you can bounce ideas off of and bring things to. And what you're really talking about is going back to being authentically who you are as a brand and a person. And it works because of that. There's a percentage, I don't know, is it like 80% of your network won't even think of you? You're not top of mind when a need comes up. And so this touch point plan keeps you top of mind, right? With your referral list.
Yeah, we are transcending keeping in touch, and we are moving right into top of mind. And there is most people are like, yeah, it's semantic. I'm like, it's not semantics. It's actually very different because what you do is different if we want to be top of mind versus just keeping in touch.
Interesting. So how did you get into doing all of this? What's your story?
The short answer is always School of Hard Knocks. The longer answer is, I wish I could say I woke up one day and God was like, hey, Stacey, you're now brilliant when it comes to referrals. Off you go, build a company, have some fun. That would make for a really cool and super short story. But the truth is I had a business that failed. And I had started an HR human resource consulting firm that I ran for just over 4 years before it failed. And I had to go back to corporate America. And that is like soul crushing. When you've been an entrepreneur, you've tasted that entrepreneurial freedom. It's like choose your hard, right? It's all hard. It's like choose your hard. I would choose the hard of being a business owner over W-2 employee any day of the week. But I had to go back and get a job. Like we are a 2-income family. Like it was a necessity for me to have a job. And so I had to go back to work and it was soul crushing. While there, I got certified as a productivity coach. So when I left that job about 15 to 18 months later, it was like 16 months later, I actually started my coaching practice. And when I looked back on my HR consulting business that I had for 4 years and had big name clients like Ally Bank and BDO and KPMG, one of the larger accounting firms, I was like, you would have thought my business was doing well, but it wasn't. I never had a system in place for bringing in the next project, for bringing in the next engagement, for bringing in the next client. And I was always at the right place at the right time. And Jenny, you know what it means to be at the right place at the right time? You're in all the places all the time.
Yes. And it's not repeatable and you can't pass it off.
It is exhausting. And so I was like, how do I build this business, not land in business failure? Never got referrals with that first business. Picked up everything from my network because I was networking all the time. Got right place, right time. I was like, how do I make this work? Well, I need to get referrals. Other businesses get referrals. I'm good. My people love me. Why didn't I get referrals? And the number one thing I want your audience to hear me say when I say this, because I think people forget, if you are amazing at what you do and you provide value and your clients love you and they give you testimonials and they give you reviews and they sing your praises, right? And they tell you how amazing and awesome you are and they come back to work with you again and again if they can, and you're not getting referrals, you're not doing something wrong, because amazing, happy, awesome, satisfied clients is not an equal sign to referrals. It comes from an entirely different place in their brain to think about referring you after they had just presented with you with the best testimonial you could have ever asked for. And so in the reality of that, it's recognizing that, okay, I can do great work, there's nothing wrong with me that I'm not getting referrals. I have to do other things. So what I learned when I started my second business is like, great. So what is the other things? I didn't know. I just threw a bunch of spaghetti on the wall and started to pay attention to what stuck. And I just did the opposite of like everything they tell you to like ask for. I'm like, okay, so I won't ask. But like pay for them. Well, I don't have any money, so I can't pay for them. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was I just did the opposite and I started building it. I was 3 months in to my second business. 3 months in, I got my first referral. I was like, what just happened? And it just started to snowball. And I just was practicing and testing things. And then I realized I was in a rhythm and a strategy created itself. And then my clients were like, thanks for teaching me how to tame my inbox, but I'd rather learn how you're growing your business so fast. I'm like, oh, it's referrals. And they're like, great, teach me that, which then forced me to reverse engineer exactly what I was doing, when I was doing it, what I was saying. And this was almost 12 years ago now. And I started teaching that to my clients and my business. I stopped doing productivity coaching and my business just evolved into just teaching referrals the way that I teach it without asking. And the strategies developed over time as clients would have different questions. I'd be like, oh, here's how you solve that. What I realized through that entire process is that my superpower is language and being able to teach it clearly so someone else can understand it. And that really, I think, helps people get confident and comfortable with the idea that they can generate referrals in a way that they want to.
Absolutely. And I think it's that framework, and you touched on it a little bit, like how you communicate in different scenarios. You have all of the great anecdotes to, well, here's how you could respond to that. Or someone refers you, but it's completely not the right business. It's not even what you do at all. And you have language for that. And you have language for asking for the right thing. And that's what I find so valuable out of what your program is all around the language. So
yeah, I think it's the piece when people get it, their confidence grows. And then that's when the real magic starts working. Like you can really see everything start to working, because once you can be confident in something, then you can actually implement. And that's obviously when results start to happen.
Yes. And it takes time. I think I jumped in going, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm so gung-ho. I'm going to learn in 90 days and we're going to do this. And I was like, oh yeah, it takes time to lay the right foundation for the plan and think through it and then get it executed. Right. So failure and learning is part of business and entrepreneurship. So looking back at all the success you had, what's maybe one game-changing decision or habit that has made the biggest impact on your success? Don't say referrals. Just kidding. You can say referrals if you want to, but
no,
one piece of advice that, anyone listening as an entrepreneur that is going through failure and trying to succeed in the GSD and mindset. What's that one piece of advice?
So when it comes to like the mindset and how you need to protect your mindset and what you need to do with your mindset, I've done a lot of work in this area because I needed to do a lot of work. One of the things I realized when my business failed is that I let other people into my brain. I let them into and influence what I thought about myself and my business. And at one point I had someone say, when I was applying for an award and I had just had like my second kid, I had somebody say to me, oh, Stacey, businesses like ours, they don't win awards. They're lifestyle businesses because you're home with your children. And I was like, first of all, I'm not home with my children. I try to get my children out of the house, but I had bought it hook, line, and sinker. And she didn't mean it. Like, there was no negative, like ill will. Like she wasn't trying to like deflate the balloon and crush the thought process of like my business, but it was easy to buy into it. And it was because I wasn't protecting my mindset. I really was like, oh, right. Yeah. And then the nosedive of that first business started, and I can directly point to where some other things had happened after that, where the business went off a cliff and I never really recovered it. So I learned early on with that first business to protect my mindset. What I learned with this business is the idea of really stretching and challenging and growing my mindset, because I am the ultimate self-sabotager. Like I can self-sabotage some rings around people. And so when I started working on my mindset, and I actually did like a 27-day manifesting challenge, and I was like, manifesting, okay, whatever. Like to me, it was like this hogwash stuff. Like I would never. And then I started paying attention to it and understanding it and realizing that I've had success, but I white knuckle all of it. I'm not very good at doing what I need to do and then letting the rest take care of itself. And when I started working on that part and really how I shifted my mindset so that I stopped self-sabotaging and just do what you need to do and let everything else take care of itself and have the belief, right? And just know that that's what's going to happen. Everything shifted majorly in my business. And I think that was a big part of also getting to a place where I had great clarity on how I show up and how I structure my business to allow me to have the freedom and the flexibility that I have, while of course making as much money as I want to as well. That's been huge too.
That's fantastic advice. And I had a similar situation where someone said, well, you're just a stay-at-home mom. Like, first of all, there's no just stay-at-home mom, but
There's no
yeah, the business where I was like, I'm going to grow an empire. I'm going to grow a 7-figure business. And the people around me maybe trying to protect me and say that I was dreaming too big. It can get in the mind. And then that imposter syndrome and all those other icky things that can hold us back from succeeding. So I love that you had admitted to how you're working on that, because I think that is a big part of entrepreneurship, overcoming the head trash, as I call it.
Yes. There's a lot of garbage up there.
Yeah. Okay. So one last fun question, because we like to have a GSD playlist. So what would be your go-to song when maybe to overcome that head trash that's up there? What would be one song you would turn to pump you up?
So two kind of percolate in my brain. And the first one is Roar by Katy Perry. I just think you can't help but, here's the thing. I know nothing about music. And the fact that I could connect Roar to Katy Perry is, I'm going to actually text my husband and my 14-year-old daughter when I get off this and tell them that I knew who sang that song, because I stink at music. Like, it's probably, if Norm could change one thing about me, it would be like that I love music as much as he did. I'm sure he'd change a lot of things, but that being one. So, but I think you can't help but sing that song when it comes on. I'm also a huge fan of basically all the, is it Rachel Platten? Is that how you say her last name? Is it Platten? I don't know. I mean, but she does like the breaking of the glass ceiling and stuff. And like, I don't know, I can hear her. I'm not going to sing it because I'm not going to embarrass myself.
You should totally do it now. This will be a great
totally
outtake.
Not do that. Nope, totally not. But I can like hear this, walking on broken glass. I can hear the song.
Yes. I know what you're talking about. But also, this is funny because you and I both apparently don't remember singers' names in songs. So, I feel you on that one. But I totally was with you on Roar and Katy Perry. I can see it like a really gung-ho, fire you up kind of song. So that's a good one.
Yeah, and I don't love any musician. I'm not like, oh, they're my favorite. They're not my favorite. Like, my husband's like, you want to go to a concert? I'm like, no. Like, I don't even care who it is. Like, I just don't care. Like, I've been to a number of them. It's just not my way to spend time. I can't turn it down,
Yeah.
And so, but those two songs, like, there's something about the ability. They just get you going. So those are mine.
Yes. I love that. Very fun. Stacey, you've offered so many good nuggets of advice for our listeners to GSD when it comes to referrals and growing their business. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to GSD with Jenny. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend. For more ways to GSD, you can also find me on LinkedIn at Jenny Buchholz, or you can sign up for my Maven Mindset newsletter, or follow me on Instagram at Maven Jenny. Until next time, go GSD, Mavens!